Joe Biden, Ireland, 1966. German women were forced to repave the streets of Prague after World War II in 1945. Elizabeth Bowes Lyon, the future Queen, is posing next to a giant vase at Buckingham Palace in 1939. A policeman saves a pig during a flood. This happened in England in 1953. Chrysler's design for the atomic tank from the 50s. Guy de Rothschild and Marie Helene de Rothschild, the Rothschilds' Surrealist Ball, 1972. Children are at a puppet show. The setting is the 1940s. Baye Diagne, a UN peacekeeper, went against his orders to stay put during the Rwandan genocide. He's given credit for saving the lives of as many as 1,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus all by himself. Number 43 Squadron stands ready to fly the British Sopwith Snipe single-seat fighter over the German front lines, October 1918. Skiers with backpack aero propulsors were developed in the design bureau of the M. Gorky Mary Polytechnic Institute in 1978. An 1867 photo shows Tokugawa Yoshinobu, the last shogun of Japan. He stepped down from his position that year. This action signaled the end of the almost 7-century reign of the shoguns. They had ruled Japan for most of the time, from 1185 to 1868. One easy piece, the timeless fashion of the 1970s. A Vietnamese family, refugees, Vietnam, 1972. British illusionist Geoffrey Atkins poses at Heathrow Airport, 1971. Cleopatra's Needle, Alexandria, Egypt in the 1870s. Johnny Cash is shaking hands with inmate Glenn Shirley during his famous performance at Folsom Prison in 1968. Gloria Richardson, the leader of the civil rights movement in Cambridge, Maryland during the 1960s, worked tirelessly to end segregation and unequal government treatment of black people. The investigation committee examines the wreckage of the Hindenburg in a New Jersey field on May 8, 1937. Queen Elizabeth II in her robes on the occasion of her coronation in June 1953. Jack Nicholson, 1986. Sophia Loren and Jane Mansfield had an encounter in 1957. French children played near invasion landing craft. Linda Lawson takes home the Mushroom Cloud Crown on May 1st, 1955. Her win happened to coincide with the Operation Q nuclear tests, which were delayed multiple times by high winds, so she became known as Miss Q. Pet lion cubs, England, 1939. The Mottershead sisters took in lion cubs that the zoo couldn't keep during the war. Their father founded Chester Zoo, so the girls were familiar with wild animals from an early age. The musical took place at Radio City Music Hall in New York in 1937. Nikolai, that's Pixonchila Hoyt, of the Native American Salish peoples. He was from the Flathead Indian Reservation, located in western Montana, around 1905. A health department employee is giving a smallpox vaccine to dancers at Billy Rose's Diamond Horseshoe nightclub in New York City in 1947. (1945) Russian soldiers in Berlin. Sophia Loren and her mother were at a Christian Dior fashion show in Paris, France in 1974. New York, 1908. It's the end of the rampage. Alice the elephant is under control and she's thinking it over. It's an American shipyard from the 1940s, where they built British cargo ships during World War II. A Canadian is playing some music for his friends with his fiddle out in front of their dugout in December 1917. Navy Chaplain O. David Herman, attached to a Marine unit on Saipan, is using a destroyed Japanese tank as an altar while holding services for the dead. It's 1944. German occupiers are destroying a monument to Polish poet and hero Adam Mickiewicz in Krakow in 1940. Mystery Meat, August 1935, meat testing, Prince George County, Maryland. The year is 1971, and Shaolin monks are training in China. This medical device is to treat the rectum. (1970s) participants of the No Bra movement. Aileen Wuornos. She became the first female serial killer to gain widespread notoriety in the United States. Alright, let's talk about family transport in England during the 1950s. the walking machine at the National Bureau of Standards used for testing wear on shoes in 1937. They're playing dominoes in North London in 1930. Voti Thang is smiling after being sentenced to 20 years of hard labour in a prison camp by the South Vietnamese government. After being sentenced, she reportedly smiled at the judge and said, "20 years? Your government won't last that long." This was in 1968. There's a van with shag carpet on the ceiling, and it's from the 1970s. (1982) Montgomery Ward catalogue, Sony Walkman cassette player, new, Sony AM/FM Walkman radio, and Sony Walkman speakers. Amelia Earhart, the first female aviator to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. There's a winter Ute boy with his dog. They're living on the slopes of the Wasatch Mountains in Utah in 1874. Lucille Mulhall on a ranch in Oklahoma in 1909. This legendary woman broke all the stereotypes. Lucille, the rodeo queen, got her start in her father's show and later created her own. May Capone, wife of Al Capone around the 1920s. Colonel Sanders and Alice Cooper in Amsterdam, 1974. American gangster Alfonso Gabriel Al Capone, who became famous during Prohibition in the United States as the founder and boss of the Chicago Mafia. Two men are demonstrating a pipe called the Double Ender in New York in 1949. President George H.W. Bush is looking at the Capitol building from a helicopter after he left Clinton's inauguration. That was in 1992. July 1939. It's a tent home for a family living in a community camp in Oklahoma City. Michael Jordan is playing ping pong, and there's an inebriated Larry Bird on the floor. It's 1992. Barack Obama is in his father's hometown in 1988. April 1942. A diner, we don't know who, is reading World War II headlines from the Detroit News in a downtown Detroit cafe. Boys with a large catch of cod, Quebec, Canada, 1943. The Crazy Cafe, Los Angeles, 1920s. Having good time waiting for the Sunday boat, 1902. So in the 1970s, kids were running wild on some seriously dangerous playgrounds. There was a thing called a sky ride. You'd sit on a little seat and be pulled across a park. It was like a tiny zip line, but not very safe. Then there were merry-go-rounds that spun so fast you'd practically fly off. And seesaws? They were often made of wood and could really launch you if you weren't careful. Kuwait, 1991. There's a young Bedouin woman holding a lamb and the Gulf War is in the background. A soldier stands next to his folding bicycle. He has a handlebar bag on the bike. He's holding the bike with one hand. He's wearing a uniform. Marilyn Monroe's costume testing for the movie The Misfits, 1960. A miner's child, barefoot in the snow, is sitting with a pickaxe after digging coal from mine refuse along the roadside. He was about a quarter of a mile from his home in Scotts Run, West Virginia in 1936. Julia Roberts, 1989. Dieter von Teese in the 1990s. Gasoline shortage in the Netherlands, 1941. John F. Kennedy's funeral was at the Capitol. This happened in November 1963. The USS Bunker Hill, that's CV-17, is burning. It happened after being hit by 2 kamikazes off Okinawa on May 11, 1945. She would be the first of 3 US flagships hit over 4 days. This was an actual spacesuit Grumman Aircraft Corporation tried to sell NASA in 1962. A girl is holding a doll next to soldiers' equipment in Rennes, France, 1917. The photograph shows a moment in 1950s fashion. It probably features models showing off haute couture designs and is credited to photographer Nina Lean. Charlize Theron as Marilyn Monroe for Madame Figaro magazine, 1993. "18-year-old Brigitte Bardot is dancing on a rooftop." This took place in Paris, France in 1952. Muhammad Ali, who was 24, is flirting with his future wife Belinda Boyd, who was 16, at a bakery shop in Chicago. They got married a year later in 1967. Brigitte Bardot and Johnny Hallyday are laughing while playing table football at Saint-Tropez. This happened in 1967. Billy and Benny McCrary were the heaviest twins in the world, weighing 336 and 327 kilograms in 1978. Eleanor Roosevelt, the former First Lady of the United States, is holding the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. She helped create it for the United Nations in 1949. The last Russian emperor was Nicholas II. This is a really cool ride. It's a custom motorcycle. It has a blue and black paint job. There is a lot of chrome, it has a big engine, and the tyres are really wide. It looks like it would be fun to ride. The world's tallest Santa, Jacob Hudson Nacken, is at the tailor's for a new suit in 1949. The minor scale test was on June 27, 1985. Coca-Cola was created by pharmacist John Pemberton from coca leaves and cola nuts. The drink was initially patented as a cure for nervous disorders and sold in pharmacies. The rotor rides were fun and dangerous all the way back in 1948. Janet Leigh is hanging out with the Pittsburgh Pirates around 1951. This kind of experimental glider flying was a crucial step in the development of aviation, especially in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Pioneers were trying to understand aerodynamics and how to control things in flight. It was in France, in 1910, Sunset Boulevard, Beverly Hills, 1925. It was a desert land that would become a metropolis of 17 million people in a couple of decades. Back then, Los Angeles was just a dream. Winston Churchill, aged 6, with his aunt Lady Leslie in 1880. Shoemaker's Lunch, 1944. John Wayne at 23 in 1930. A Polish riot squad, Poland, 1939. A Woman with a Plant, Vienna, 1954. A Dancer with an Atomic Blast Behind, Nevada, 1950. Houdini exposes psychic fraud with the audience, 1925. It's Lucille Ball on her wedding day to Desianas, 1940. Gia Karangi became one of the first models in the world to dare to do erotic photo shoots in the 1980s. The stewardess for Pacific Southwest Airlines in the 1970s. A United States Marine Corps soldier is wearing a Pickelhaube helmet, around 1884. Serial killer Albert Fish. After killing, he not only dismembered the bodies but also consumed parts of the flesh. 3 children are crossing a rain-soaked street on their way to school in Egham, England in 1913. The wives of the astronauts on the Apollo 8 mission, at the moment they heard their husbands' voices from orbit in 1968. Searchlights are on the Rock of Gibraltar, 1942. Johnny Depp and Al Pacino on the set of Donnie Brasco, 1997. Some German boys are watching a Russian signalman working on a Berlin street during April or May of 1945. Robert Francis Kennedy sleeps on board an airplane, 1968. Elizabeth Taylor. She was born in 1932 in London to American parents. Her family moved to Los Angeles before the outbreak of World War II. She started her acting career as a child, appearing in a number of films. She became one of Hollywood's biggest stars, known for both her beauty and her acting talent. She won 2 Academy Awards for Best Actress, one for Butterfield 8 in 1960, and another for Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf in 1966. Her personal life was also widely publicised, including her 8 marriages to 7 different men. She was also a businesswoman, philanthropist, and humanitarian, known for her work in raising awareness and funds for HIV/AIDS research. She passed away in 2011. Yakuza in Osaka, Japan, 1960. Christy Turlington in 1989. Princess Beatrice, born in 1857 and passing in 1944, portrayed Queen Elizabeth I on the 7th of January, 1888. Nelson Mandela at a South African Communist Party rally, Soweto, 1990. Donald Trump's mother was an immigrant chasing the American dream. She was from Scotland in 1930. Frida Kahlo, 19 years old in 1926. Towards the end of the war, boys as young as 14 were pressed into service by the Germans. These lads are carrying Panzerfaust anti-tank weapons. Luban, Silesia. March 1945. March 1940, Pony Show. There's a ring of people watching the judging of horses at the San Angelo Fat Stock Show. A lot of polo ponies are bred and raised in West Texas. Alright, a vintage retro computer alien design from 1955 by Panalina. A mouse climbs a miniature ladder to take a sip of wine in a wine cellar. This was in Jerez, Spain in 1954. After World War II ended, Japanese soldier Hiro Onoda continued fighting in the Philippines for 29 years because he didn't believe Japan would surrender. This is him formally giving up his sword to the president. 1989. Mum helps her son beat a difficult level in Super Mario Land on Game Boy.